Film fans of YouTube, hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Josh, your Movie Apprentice, and today I'm going to be looking at Swedish horror film Let the Right One In, based on a book of the same name, directed by Thomas Alfredson and starring Kari Hedebrandt, Lena Leandersson, and Per Ragnar. So as I've said, this is based on a book of the same name, and this film asks the question of the girl next door story, but what if that girl next door happened to be a vampire? Before I get into the review, if you like what I do on the channel, consider clicking the like button and subscribing to the channel. It would really help me a lot. And let me know what your favourite Swedish film is down in the comments below. Without further ado, let's get into this review. So before I get into it, I will say that both this and the American remake are based on this book, and I would strongly recommend reading this book because this book is fantastic. All three interpretations, in my opinion, are at least very good, but this trumps the two films hands down. As for this film, Let the Right One In, I like both this and the remake. This one, I would say, is more of an accurate representation of the book. This is very much the film study version of the adaptation. For starters, I have to say the cinematography in this is really, really well done. There are a couple of fantastic shots in this, similar to that in Reservoir Dogs, where Mr. Pink and Mr. White are having a conversation, but it's cut from a wide angle and you just see them conversing through a doorway, and most of the frame is taken up by not a lot of relevant importance, but you know where to be looking. And this film has a couple of similar shots. My personal favourite being one showing a big wide shot of a hospital. Unless you're looking for a certain thing in that frame, you don't know it's there until it starts moving. The way this is shot is just gorgeous. It's very simplistic, very blocked out. Like every shot in this is nice and long. If you want a lesson on blocking the actions and movements in camera, this is a film for you to learn about that. Because there are several shots that are wide, we can tell they're blocked from going from point A to point B within this frame without ever cutting out of it. It is really well done. The story of this is really good as well. I really love this story. When this film came out, I was starting to lose hope of the vampire genre. Because after the Dracula, we had Lost Boys in the 80s, which in my opinion was probably the last great vampire film, not counting Blade, which is more of a superhero movie than a vampire movie. But vampires got a bit campy, got a bit romanticized, got a bit samey. But then the book came out that gave a new perspective on vampirism. Because vampirism has been romanticized in so many novels. But first and foremost, vampirism is a curse. You have to kill people and drink their blood to survive. And this film heavily leans into that, right down to having our vampire be this young 12-year-old girl that's been 12 for a very long time, and seeing their vulnerabilities throughout this. As an adaptation as well, it does a very good job at adapting what it can, because this book has 3 or 4 main plot threads and a number of characters it follows throughout this. I think it really helps if you've read the book before seeing this film, because there are times where it will cut to a random group of people that are drinking. You don't get to know too much about them, you just see them as everyday people, but you get names of them and you get cuts to them constantly getting their story. But I don't feel like the film does a service to the amount of depth these characters have within the book itself. And at times, they do act as a bit of a awkward distraction, in my personal opinion. Don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed this film, but the book, for me, I think its best setting would be an 8 or 10 part miniseries focusing on all the different aspects of it, because there is so much in the book that it's almost impossible to get it all into film. But this one tried its best, and for the most part, it did an okay job at it. And when it comes to a book of this much depth and lore, that's all you can really ask for, is that a film does the minimum amount to make it make sense. End of the day, this is Oscar and Eli's story, and their relationship in this, honestly, not going to crap on the actors, because for me it's probably a language barrier, but I didn't really get their dynamic. I didn't buy that they got so close so quick. And while I do praise the blocking of some wide shots, there are some times where the acting feels a bit wooden. But like I said, this could just be a language barrier for myself. Obviously, because I'm not Swedish and I don't speak Swedish, I can't really grasp the emotion they're putting in their voice. I don't know if it's a kid actor thing, or maybe if it's how it's acted, or how it's blocked, or if it's just simply the language barrier. But their relationship, while I could just about buy it, it wasn't something I was overly invested in, if that makes sense. But I do like the small effects they put on Eli when it comes to them having their vampirism. It's very subtle, nothing in your face, and a certain scene involving a fair amount of blood is very well done, and it just looks so good on camera. Looks absolutely brilliant. And I do have to give this film a big shout out for embracing the underlying narrative. This book is very much ahead of its time. Without spoiling it, there's something that's more relevant today than it was really focused on back then. And there is a shot that is ballsy as hell. And it's probably, weirdly enough, the most controversial part of the movie. But I feel like it's really well done. And it really slaps the audience in the face if they're not really getting what Eli is trying to say throughout this. Like I said, my only real issues with this is that the blocking can feel a bit wooden at times. I didn't overly buy the Eli and Oscar relationship. I don't know if it was the acting or the writing or the language barrier, but I couldn't really delve into it. And I will say as well that while they did try and adapt a lot of the book into this, a lot of it did feel like just a distraction. It didn't feel like it meshed well in the film itself, but I appreciate the efforts they went to try and incorporate as much of the original book as possible. But the one thing that really bugs me is the title of Let the Right One In. Vampires, you have to invite them into your property, and unfortunately, this rule kind of gets tossed aside towards the end. But the later film, the remake, is just as guilty of that, so I'm not going to mark this one down too much on that front. Overall, Let the Right One In. I definitely liked it better the second time I watched it than the first time I watched it. The second time watching it, I've got to appreciate how it was made, the blocking of it, how it tried so hard to stay true to the novel. But I still couldn't really buy into the two leads really bonding as close as they're supposed to in the narrative. And like I say, there are some bits that feel like side distractions that, while active to the book, didn't really work on film for me. This is a book that needs to be a miniseries. I'm surprised it never got the miniseries treatment. But this film, for what it is, did a fantastic job, told a very down-to-earth story, and I really enjoy the cinematography and the blocking of this as well. I'm going to have to say that Let the Right One, for me, just needs a bit more sugar. So Let the Right One In. Have you seen it? If you have, let me know what you thought down in the comments below. And let me know, do you prefer this one or the remake, which I will be reviewing tomorrow. Fingers crossed that nothing happens internet-wise to prevent that. And coming out a little later on the channel, we have a few more horror movies to get through by the end of the month. I'm going to try and get more written reviews out on my letterbox. So feel free to see that Spikehead podcast. I still can't change that name. But subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification so you never miss another video from me. Until next time, my name is Josh, I have been your Movie Apprentice, and I'll see you in the next video. Hey, thank you for watching, and thank you for making it to the end of the video. While you are here, if you haven't done it yet, please feel free to drop a like and consider hitting that subscribe button for more reviews coming all the time. And also, while you are here, there are some other videos over there that you might want to sink your teeth into. Have a good day, guys, and do enjoy.